I know you love the music. Speaking of love, I love that YouTube tattoo you got on. Love appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of West Coast guys, so I don't really know why you're supporting them, but hey, it is.
Why you gotta come out?
Anyway, hold on. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 1 of KYP, aka the Know Your Personnel podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Jarod McEnroy, where we are kicking this thing off, where we are going to talk about nothing but sports, and more sports. Jarod, what's KYP? What's Know Your Personnel all about?
It's all about knowing your personnel. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but at the end of the day, it's knowing what you have in your arsenal, all your tools, who you're playing with, who you're bringing to the table, and what you're going to do with them when the time comes.
At the end of the day, yeah, like who's your guy? Who's your guy on fourth down when it's fourth and short? I don't know. In the NBA, like who's your guy? Who are you getting the ball to take that last second shot?
But it's not up to the listeners to decide. It's for us to figure it out and tell it to them. That's what this is all for.
Exactly.
It's about us knowing our personnel.
And we're going to know the personnel. And so this show is going to have stats, of course, because it's an integral part. But it's going to be more about, hey, this is the guy. This is the moment. This is the time. These are the people who are on your roster to get it done. And so while this is going to be a show that includes a lot of highly detailed, highly nuanced information, it's also going to be pretty conversational. So with that said, we've got the first episode today. We're going to be talking a lot of NFL football today. Perhaps at the end, we'll get into a little bit of NBA trade deadline, just because a few things happened today. Let's kick it off with the granddaddy of them all, if you will, the Super Bowl. Jarod, what are we looking at?
Yeah, if we're getting into the Super Bowl, the two games that we watched were two completely different games getting here. So I think just starting with the Patriots, it wasn't my favorite game I've watched all year. I know a lot of real football fanatics talk about, oh, that's how football should be played. I disagree in terms of the modern day game, but
I disagree.
I really would have liked to see Bo Nix out there and seeing what that Denver team really had in the tank. Even just surviving that long was kind of a bad look for the Patriots, that they were even in that game with Jarrett Stidham for that long. So they made it to this game by the skin of their teeth, I'll tell you what.
Yeah, they did. And you think about Bo Nix and how effective he's been with his feet all year. Sean Payton calls probably like at least 3 or 4 designed runs for Bo Nix every single game. You factor in kind of Bo Nix. He does have some like late game moxie. If he would have been able to extend a few of those pass plays like with his feet. Speaking of which, Drake May picking up that crucial third down. There's no doubt in my mind that Bo Nix would have been able to do the same thing. You got to miss field goals, a couple of missed calls there, perhaps however you want to say it, by Sean Payton in that Denver offense. And so when you look at it, yeah, like you said, it's not really a great look for the Patriots. And if we talk about their whole entire playoff run, you got Justin Herbert, who was playing with like blinders on. Yeah. I don't know. The guy couldn't see downfield.
No, don't get me started on that, yeah.
And I love Justin Herbert. You got an anemic offense out of the Houston Texans, and you just kind of hung on and ultimately ended up winning the game. And then you kind of get gifted going against Jarrett Stidham, and then the snow just really impacting how they had to play that game.
The worst time of the game.
Yeah.
It was truly unfortunate for Denver, but again, I mean, at some point you got to put points on the board. The whole Sean Payton thing to me, I feel like was kind of, who cares? You go, you get it, great. You don't get it, whatever. That didn't decide the game. I think ultimately they didn't have the gas in the tank to really finish the job, take it over the top against the Patriots, and they're clearly the better team. But I think the Patriots maybe played 3 good drives on offense. There was like the short possession after the turnover that they scored the touchdown on, the one they got the field goal on, and then ultimately that last drive was pretty good. I mean, yeah, like you said, the play call to Drake May getting the first down to kind of seal the game. That was vintage stuff. So that looked like a really good football team, but it was, again, maybe 3 drives.
Yeah, and is it too early to go to know your personnel? What did the Patriots do? They knew their personnel. They called the play for the guy that they wanted the ball in his hands there to seal out the game. That was Drake May. Go and flipping it over to the Seattle Seahawks here. They escaped. They escaped and they made it to the Super Bowl. I think.
Yeah. Escaped is.
Did they honestly? Have you ever had one of those games where yes, it was kind of close, but the team that was winning and the team that did win, it was never really in doubt?
Yeah, no,
Like
exactly.
the game was close, but at no point did I think, oh, like the Rams are really going to actually make this comeback. You know what I'm saying?
I think you need to give the Rams a little more credit. I mean, we're talking about the team that was arguably considered the Super Bowl favorite for maybe 80% of the year this year. Like, we're talking about a really good football team who hasn't been playing that well as of late, and ultimately, was dealing with a lot of injuries. The Stafford injury to his finger, clearly he wasn't 100%. They were missing guys and playing hurt guys all over the field after a tough game the week before. So let's not discount who they were playing. I mean, yeah, that's a pretty good football team.
I don't want to discount the Rams per se and what they in their body of work throughout the entire season, but in this game in particular, I just felt like Seattle had control of the reins. It was evident just also in special teams. And Rashid Shaheed is obviously a game changer. And I think he's gonna impact the Super Bowl in a big way. There just wasn't a moment where I'm like, yeah, the Rams got this. And if it wasn't for some bonehead plays by Tariq Woolen extending some drives, are we even talking about some of the scores that the Rams had?
Yeah, that was a tough look. He kind of took it a step too far, but it's the heat of the moment. It's a division rival. To go to the Super Bowl, I mean, I think all the hate on Woolen right now is kind of crazy, but at the same time, yeah, when you're in that moment, you really can't cost your team like that to take it a step too far. And then back to the Rashid Shaheed thing. Talk about a GM absolutely cooking this year at the trade deadline, because that's a dude that, one, the talent is obviously there. Even on offense, like some of the reverse plays he's getting the ball, he's coming out of the backfield, out of the slot, like all over the place. Kubiak's got him dialed, and just like he's playing with confidence. So like when you have weapons who are starting to play with confidence, I mean, he went and traded. He got rid of Lockett, he got rid of DK, and he told JSN, "You're going to be the guy." And look at what we've gotten out of him this year. Like whatever they got going on in Seattle right now, regardless of how good their defense is, because that's a whole nother conversation. The offense looks fantastic, and they deserve their flowers.
Absolutely. And they got rid of Ryan Grubb, right? And then they brought in, because that was a huge part. They made Jackson Smith and Jigba look pedestrian, right?
Yeah, that was never the guy. That was never the guy.
No, not at all. And so for McDonald to look at that 1 year, he didn't play the friendship game of the NFL where it's, hey, you moved your family here, which actually Grubb didn't even have to move. He was already in Seattle.
Right.
I'm gonna give you a chance to turn this around. And he was like, I'm sorry, this just isn't gonna work. I'm not gonna lose my job because you can't get it together. And so that's one of the reasons I think that he should be coach of the year, right? But now you've got two teams in the Super Bowl. You say what you want about how they got there, what way. You're in the Super Bowl. You made it to the big game. What do you think's gonna happen? Let's just go right off the rip. Score prediction. What are we seeing?
Bro, a lot to a little. I'm not gonna lie. If the Patriots show up the way, if the Patriots show up the way they did last week, I think the Seahawks are going to bounce them. Their offense looked terrible. They couldn't. Again, they only battled the elements for one quarter. So let's not act like this was some snow game that they couldn't move the ball. They had three full quarters.
Most of the second half.
It was 3 full quarters pretty much of, honestly, just they couldn't get the run game going. They weren't really moving the ball. The receivers just weren't getting open. And they're about to play a defense that's, granted, the Denver Broncos are a fantastic defense. So we're not gonna say anything there. But I mean, you're going out and you're getting the same defense just with a better offense next week. Like, good luck. You put up 10 points. You're not going to win the Super Bowl with 10 points. I can promise you that.
Honestly, that's such a great point. Because the Denver defense is disgusting. Seattle's defense is disgusting in just a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle doesn't really blitz that much, but they get so much pressure on the quarterback. And because they get pressure without blitzing, if Drake May can't find anywhere to go with the football, like you're saying, it's going to get real ugly real quick. But hear me out. There's so much Super Bowl pedigree on that Patriots team. Whether that's Mike Vrabel at head coach, whether that's Josh McDaniels, that's our offensive coordinator, you can't discount that Super Bowl experience. I'm not sure anyone on the Seahawks has any Super Bowl experience, and
Yeah.
that's got to count
Yeah.
for something, right?
Okay.
A little something.
No, I agree. I agree with you. Here's where I disagree. I think in this new age of football, with all of the schematics and watching film and preparing, they're going to treat this game like it's just another game. And I think when it comes down to your defense showing up and being solid, I mean, they're going to play to the crowd. They're going to play to the hype of the game. They're going to show up and they're going to do their thing. So it's really going to come down to, can the offense stay on track? If they were going to rely on Darnold throwing 50, 60, 70 passes, then I'd be like, probably not. But their run game is as solid as it's been all year. Kenneth Walker is taking the league by storm right now, finally being the guy who we thought he would be.
Now there's no Charbonnet.
Yeah, there was no Charbonnet last game, and he ran just fine. I just think that I understand what you're saying about the Super Bowl experience and everything, and people have been in the big game, but I don't know. This day and age, these dudes are built different. They're disassociated with the lights and everything. They're always in front of, with the new age media and how many people are watching these games these nowadays, like they're always in front of this many people. So like,
Yeah,
I don't know if it plays the same way as it used to.
what I do like about the Patriots though is they do have a top 10 run defense. I can't remember if they're 7 or 8, but they're somewhere up there. Seattle's rush offense, I'm not sure where they sit, but if you can slow down Kenneth Walker and that run defense, or sorry, not run defense, run offense, and you can make Sam Darnold beat you with his arm, and you got Christian Gonzalez on Jackson Smith and Jigba, which is going to be difficult, right? Clint Kubiak gets Jackson Smith and Jigba the looks he wants, the matchups he wants, moves them across the formation. So unless you're having Gonzo going back and forth to every single position, it's going to be tough to keep track of him. Jackson, he's been in the backfield a couple of times.
Yeah.
So how are you going to keep track
He does
of him?
play out the backfield.
But that's what's going to matter. Can they stifle that run defense, and can they get Darnold out of rhythm early? Because if he finds if JSN has 4 completions in the first quarter or 4 catches in the first quarter, forget about it. This game's going to be 9. This game's going to be 900-0. I don't see a world where the Patriots blow out the Seahawks, but there is certainly a world where the Seahawks can potentially run away with this game.
Yeah, it can be a dogfight, and maybe the Patriots will pull one out, but that's the only way. And just to further my point, I heard you say a lot of ifs. If they can do this, if they can do this, if they can do this.
Yeah,
it's a lot of ifs. Good luck. My money's on the Seahawks, and I think it's going to be pretty comfortable.
I think it's going to be 17-31, and it's not going to be a blowout 17-31. It's going to be 17-24 until about late in the fourth quarter. Patriots are going to push for something, whether it's a turnover on downs or an actual turnover, probably in the Seahawks territory. Then the Seahawks are going to go down to score kind of with 3-4 minutes left, and that's mostly going to be the game. That's how I think it's going to happen. I think one of Seattle's scores comes by way of special teams or defensive touchdown. I think that certainly happens. Man, I really, really want it's hard to think of a Super Bowl as being a multi-score game or really anything more than a touchdown, right? Vegas has us at 4.5, and I'm not a big gambling guy, but
it's a lot lower than I thought it would be.
Yeah, I just that must be the Super Bowl experience that they're taking into account.
Yeah, it must be that, honestly. But no, if Seattle's getting the ball to start the game, don't kick it to Shaheed, please.
Mama,
or we're gonna get that.
There goes that.
We're gonna get that Devin Hester kick return out the gate, and the game is not gonna be looking good for him. Not that game worked out in the Bears' favor, but in these circumstances, I don't think that would be great for them.
Not at all. But
you know what? It's enough about this game. We got to get into the coaching carousel immediately.
Let's talk it out.
This has been driving me crazy, and you know what? Later on, we'll get into our rant of the day. Originally, I had on my docket the Mike McDaniel sweepstakes. this coaching hiring has been abysmal. It's been a disaster. I am so triggered by what I've had to witness the last few weeks of hiring in the NFL. It's I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's lack of really having the guy out there to go and hire, but oh, Nathan.
I'm just confused by, was the job accepted? Was the job offered? Did the contract go through? Did somebody pull out at the last minute and not sign? I feel like, especially about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, there was so and so has been announced as coordinator or head coach for this team. And then it'll come out a couple hours later. Well, actually, we're not entirely sure that that's the case.
They did it with Harbaugh, the number one guy on the market. We're like, oh my gosh, Harbaugh's going to the Giants. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then it's just like 17 posts of different accounts saying, hasn't been signed. There's a lot that still needs to be done, this, that, and the other. I'm like, oh my God.
Whoa. The number one coach this cycle is Robert Saleh. Big Bobby
Okay, we'll get
Saleh.
into our
That was
grades.
number one. Yeah.
We'll
Whatever,
get into our
whatever,
grades on that
whatever.
later. That's not the name I had on my list. But yeah, where do you want to start? Do you want to just get into our grades and then we can go down coach by coach? And
Yeah, let's get into the grades. What we
all
think.
right, well,
here.
let's start with the Giants. That's the easy one. I got it as an A, just a solid A. What about you?
I've got this as a B. This is a B higher to me. I think Harbaugh should have sat out a year and waited. If you're asking me, I think he should have sat out a year, waited, reevaluated the NFL before taking this Giants job. There is so much work that needs to be done. And is he a good culture guy? Yeah. But it's not very often that you go to that second team and all of a sudden things start to work out for you, especially after leaving such a bad situation. It wasn't like Andy Reid when he left Philadelphia. Like, they were still winning games. They just weren't getting over the hump. Like, this was a really, really bad exit the past 2 years. Well, honestly, 3 years if you include their loss to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, which they should not have had by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah, I'm not convinced it was a great hire. I don't think he's the guy to get you to the Super Bowl. I think he's the guy who's going to get you to the wild card. He might get you a divisional win, maybe. But again, you're in the division with Dan Quinn and the Redskins, and with I don't think Nick Sirianni is a great coach, but the roster is great in Philadelphia. So it's going to be tough already, and I just want people to manage expectations.
Yeah, I think this is going to be the year with Philadelphia where we see the straw that breaks the camel's back. We'll see how that plays out, but I think it's a solid A, especially from the perspective of the Giants, man. I mean, if we're talking about who they had on the market that they could go get, I don't really know who else fits what they're trying to do right now better than Harbaugh. I think at the end of the day, at a minimum, if you can get him to come in, shift the culture a little bit, give some expertise on bringing some guys in, through the draft, maybe through free agency, and at least just get this place get this team in a better place than they are going into this relationship, then I think it's a win. So I think, again, I give it an A because it's like, what else do you want them to do? New York's not in the greatest position. They could be in a great position if Jackson Dart plays out the way we think he will. But at this given moment, all you can do is work with what you got, and I think they wouldn't got the guy. They convinced him.
Yeah, I mean, if the grading scale was pass-fail, they passed.
Yeah, I agree.
I
agree wholeheartedly.
Can we quickly talk about the Eagles, though? Do you know who their new offensive coordinator is?
No, but
Oregon State legend Sean Mannion.
Are you serious?
I
didn't even see that drop.
Your personnel. Yeah, Sean Mannion.
He's a legend.
I'm pretty sure maybe he's only offensive quality control or something like that. But I'm pretty confident that they brought that man in as the offensive coordinator.
Saints legend, Rams legend, everywhere he went. Don't let Sean Mannion get hot. Staying in New York, though. Staying in New York, we might as well. Joe Brady, OC to head coach. What are we doing? I put it as a C, and let me tell you why I did a C.
Okay.
I don't think it's a D or an F because at the end of the day, they've succeeded to some degree. And again, I mean, he's never been a head coach, so we don't know what he can do. And maybe it works out for him. but he's not a B or an A because he's certainly not the best guy they could have went and got. I think if we're trying to make Josh Allen look the best he can possibly look, and kind of shift away from the McDermott regime, if you will, maybe going and getting a more experienced head coach who's done it and been around, and will at least kind of shift the team in a different direction. Maybe an offensive minded head coach, maybe a Stefanski, something like that might have been a better fit, but it wasn't Joe Brady. I'll tell you what.
I'm gonna give this one a B minus. I'm gonna give this a B minus, and here's
Wow.
why. You're gonna
That
be
shocks me.
Josh Allen and the offense. They're still gonna be great. You got that continuity, but my issue with this Bills team has been Sean McDermott with the defense, right? So they got rid of him. The defense was always giving up points when it mattered most. But part of that problem is you'd have Josh Allen with some of the ugliest turnovers in football in those games, stressing out the defense. One of the things I feel like Josh Allen has not yet learned how to do is quarterback by way of being a point guard, right? Mm-hmm. Can he make all the throws? Can he extend drives? Yes. But he takes horrible sacks, has ugly turnovers, and he doesn't control the pace of the game. Like, hey, there's times where, scoring in 2 minutes is great, or less than 2 minutes is great. But there's times where you have to be able to grind a team down. You've got one of the best run games in the game with Josh Cook. I'm sorry, not Josh Cook, with James Cook.
Yep.
James Cook. I kind of blended the two. They're both running backs, basically. How do you, you just have to control that pace of the game. Give your defense a breather. Know when you need to go on that 7-minute drive. Know when you need to go on that 2-minute drive. And find that space in between to give your defense rest, keep your defense off the field, and exhaust their defense. Right? Like a third down in the second quarter, I don't need you scrambling this way and then going that way. And no, now we sack and we lose. I don't need that. Just throw it away and let's get on with it. Let's get good field position, flip the field, and we're going to move on. So Joe Brady hasn't coached that out of him as an offensive coordinator. That's why it's just a B minus to me.
Yeah,
we're in the same ballpark.
That's why I think it's a little higher than I thought you'd go, because they're not making any changes. I mean, we're talking it's going to be the same offense. He called offense already. He's going to keep calling the offense. I guess we'll see. Maybe he brings in an OC who might, help round out the game plan and maybe help with that. But I don't know. We don't need to harp on the Bills too much. You know my opinion on that. So
as a Dolphins fan,
who's next?
Also, we should disclose that in the first episode. Jarod is a diehard Dolphins fan. Anything Bills, automatic.
You want to talk Dolphins next? Let's get into it. I got a B plus. Next. I got a B plus, and I in parentheses have A minus interview. You want to talk about a guy who has me absolutely hyped. And you know what? After this year is over, I could be just eating my words, but at a minimum, I've been wanting to see a change in this team for so long. We brought in McDaniel. We thought that was the change we needed, whatever. Gase was just a disaster. Like we've had some tough head coaching situations. So to bring in a defensive mind, people forget that the Flores years, we were 10-7 both years, I think. We weren't a bad team by any means. And I think when you're directionless and you're trying to fill out the roster and everything, it really helps to have a defensive-minded head coach, especially when that's where the majority of our money is going, is to our defense, and we're clearly investing in our defense. And I think pairing that with a defensive head coach, especially getting us through however many years we're going to have with whatever new quarterback we get.
Are you getting a new quarterback?
Listen to him talk. I'm a big podium guy, and he's got me sold. He's got me sold.
Yeah, I'll give that a B plus too, because I love a guy who's great at the podium. Your Mike Tomlins, your John Harbaughs, your Robert Salehs, guys who are in this cycle who are great at the podium. I love it. But my deal, especially with a guy who hasn't been a head coach in the NFL, he was a head coach in college, which is a little bit different, but now you basically have to be an NFL head coach. NIL is crazy. My deal is, can you translate that information to your staff and then down to all your players, because there's a lot of guys that
Mm-hmm.
know exactly what to say, how to say it in front of the podium. Everybody, or most guys, have been media trained at this point. So can he disseminate that information? I don't know what his offensive acumen is. I'm not sure who's been hired as the offensive coordinator. If one
Bobby
has been
Slowick.
Bobby Slowick. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, from
Interesting
Houston.
offensive coordinator.
He's
Yeah,
been
he
on the
had a
team for a little bit.
yeah. Okay, had one good year with C.J. Stroud.
Yeah.
One
And
good
then the
year.
downfall kind of made everyone look bad
Yeah.
there.
See,
We
so
don't know.
I would have loved to have seen him, and I'm not sure who else is out here on the market. Find an offensive coordinator who's been around the block a little bit, as opposed to a guy who's a little bit younger. And I know Bobby Slowick has had a couple of years of that experience, but I want to go and get a guy that has already been a head coach. And again, I'm going to give it a
Would
B
you prefer
plus
Matt
just because I
Nagy?
love it. Absolutely not. You talk about football terrorists who's been riding the
It's only-
coattails of Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid. That's Matt Nagy.
That's the only guy I could think of that's been a head coach that
Can
was on the
you-
OC market outside of
Dog.
McDaniel. But
I'm sorry. Okay, we're going to talk Chiefs real quick. Can you imagine being the offensive coordinator for a great team and they say, actually, we're going to kick you to the curb. We're going to bring back the other guy that we had, Eric Bieniemy. We're going
Yeah.
to kick you out. That is insane to do. But
You're
it's
literally-
what you had. You had to do it. Mahomes
Yeah.
and Nagy did not see eye to eye. Nagy's offense. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, in a future episode when we start talking about next year's
Mhm.
NFL. But yeah, I like Halfley. I like Halfley.
I like it too.
And I like
I
him
got
at
a
the
lot of-
podium.
Let's bump through a couple of the snoozers really quick and just go
Okay.
very quick because I'm not moved by the Ravens move at all. I gave Minter a C plus. Could have been worse. Certainly could have been better. What do we got there?
You're keeping kind of the legacy of your Ravens, hard-nosed defense, that kind of deal, but really that's it.
Yeah,
Okay. Fine. I'm not
Yeah,
sure what that does
it's
to
just
help Lamar, but
sweet.
okay.
McCarthy to the Steelers will stay in the division. I give it a B. Again, a B for boring. What are we doing? I guess. Fine. Sure.
I'm gonna-
Yeah. And then
I'm going to give it a Q for question mark, dog. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did Aaron Rodgers sign off on this? I don't think Aaron. But here's one thing: is I know that offense is going to score points. If there's one thing about Mike McCarthy, say what you want about his time in Dallas, that he had the number one offense. I think a couple times throughout his tenure, so that he'll fix the offense that's been horrible for many, many years. I just don't know what the whole Aaron Rodgers situation is now.
one thing McCarthy's always been good at too is like making a cast of people who don't make sense on paper work. Like it comes down to knowing your personnel at the end of the day, but
You got
it's the perfect example.
to know your personnel.
But like, is he going to be the guy that's going to take them to the AFC Championship and a Super Bowl? Probably not. But again, that's why B for boring. You'll win some games, probably be around a wild card spot, maybe come postseason. I don't know, but yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Plot twist here, real quick. Did
Yeah,
they
let's hear it.
hire Mike McCarthy to get Aaron Rodgers out the door?
well, I've been seeing a lot of things that they hired him to please Aaron Rodgers and get him back. I'm like, I don't know where their relationship stands currently, so I don't know, but who knows?
And it sounds like they
Who
did a
knows?
darkness retreat together.
And again, this could go horribly wrong. And we'll talk about one last thing at the very end, but let's move it along.
They just need to get
Next,
Nat
we got
Hackett. Sorry, I had
Yeah.
to throw that in there.
yeah. I mean, in terms of what's left, that's really exciting to talk about. Raiders with Kubiak, I think, is a huge move for them. I think it's one of I gave it a B plus. The only reason I didn't give it an A is there's been a lot of pressure for the Raiders to do something that really takes them into a winning direction. So I don't know that this is that surefire thing, but at least they're exciting. They got picks. They got the number one pick this year. They got stuff to work with. They still have a couple exciting guys on the roster. They still have, Max Crosby. They still got Brock Bowers, G&T. Like they got some guys. So I think it'll be interesting to see a fun offense for the first time in forever over in Las Vegas. And again, I mean, in terms of the options they had, that was pretty much best case scenario for them.
Yeah, I worry for him as a first time head coach. especially in Vegas where there's just so many other distractions. And we've seen it
Hmm.
really didn't even work out for Pete Carroll. I know there was some weird stuff with like his kids also on the staff, this, that, I don't even know. But
That was a weird hire always.
sometimes your side of the ball can suffer if you're really heavily focused on one side. Like sometimes it can suffer when you become the head coach because it pulls your attention in so many different ways. So is he going to
Hmm.
be able to get a defensive coordinator where he's like, okay, great, you do that over there.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to look at what you're doing. We'll help game plan, but I'm focused on this offense. Like I said, plenty of weapons. It's going to be exciting. I'm sure he's going to work to figure out the quarterback situation. He was happy to take Sam Darnold. Now, whether he wants to draft Mendoza or whether he wants to find someone else in free agency to kind of fill that gap, I don't really know what he wants to do. But yeah, should be excited for the weapons that are on that offense to really start to blossom.
Yeah, especially it'll be very interesting with the Jets having two firsts this year, trading back for both of them. Like there's a lot of opportunity to get a few pieces to really get this roster back on track, and then you're going into a quarterback class next year that's going to be one of the best that we've seen in a while. So exciting stuff over in Las Vegas. I don't even want to talk about the Cardinals, bro. I gave a C plus for LaFleur. What are we doing? Hey,
You know,
again, it's just we're taking shots on these guys, and we've talked about this before. Just if you were an offensive coordinator or even like a quarterbacks coach, like you don't even have to be an OC. If you have any ties that say you're a part of the Shanahan or the McVay ladder, like you immediately
instant
get
credential.
these.
You're minted.
Yeah, you
You're minted.
immediately get these credentials of some up and coming genius, offensive genius, and I'm like, what? I don't get it. I don't see it. Maybe he's a great head coach. Again, it could be fine, but I just think there's a lot of guys that were slotted for a head coaching job this year that didn't get a chance, and I don't know. We'll see how it plays out for him, but there was a weird shift the last few years, and
To
that's a
me,
part of it.
they needed a culture fixer. And I'm not sure that Mike LaFleur. I don't know enough about Mike LaFleur, so it's really hard for me to grade that higher. I don't know what Sean McDermott's status is and whether or not he wanted to get back into the game or whether he's going to sit out a year. But he's a guy who knows his personnel and he gets people rowing the boat in the same direction. Say what you want about how things didn't end necessarily well in Buffalo, but the team was bought in and everybody wanted to move in the same way. That's the kind of guy I would have liked to have seen
Ryan
take that
Flores
job. Brian Flores.
would have
Guys
been the
like that.
perfect guy.
Guys like that, who, by the way, was right
Even
on Tua. No disrespect.
100%.
Was right on
And
Tua.
even Raheem Morris, I'm like he got the short end of the stick, giving him another like a change of scenery, even like
I don't know.
no,
About
okay, we
Raheem
don't get
Morris.
into it too much, but I think that there was a lot of guys that you could have taken a swing on. Yeah, and then I'm saving Tennessee for last because I feel like you have something for me there. Going right along, Browns I put F. Who did they even hire? I don't think we need to talk too much about that because the Browns will stay the Browns.
The Browns are.
What are we doing?
It was a hard situation to be in because other than Schwartz, who was already in the building, who is going to take that job, knowing that you owe Deshaun Watson a bajillion dollars this year? If you want to cut him, you owe him a bajillion, and then you owe him a bajillion even next year. So if you're an offensive head coach, if you're a defensive head coach, you're like there's no appeal to being on that team. And so that's why I feel like they had to go so far down the list before they ultimately hired my goodness.
Yeah, who did they hire? That's what I put. And let me
Did
tell
you
you
actually
something.
mean that? I started
No, I know who they hired, but I'm not. We're not talking about this right now. The Cleveland Browns don't deserve a conversation at this point, and let me tell you why. They've done their team a disservice in all of these crazy hoops that they've made these coaches jump through.
Monkey.
Let's not act
Not
like
Monkey. Wow, Monken. Todd.
yes,
Monken,
Todd
sorry.
Monken. Yes,
There it is.
Todd Monken is their new head coach.
I did
What
not
they've
know my
put these
personnel.
coaches through in this hiring process, acting like this is the most coveted job on the market, that this is where you want to be. All of these stories that are coming out from behind the scenes, all of these people leaving interviews and taking their names out of the hat. it just says something about the team, the building, the owners, everything about what's going on with the Browns. And this is why you'll hear me say it time and time again, that bad teams stay bad. Yeah. Again, we don't need to go too much into it. Tell me why you have the Tennessee Titans, Robert Saleh, as an A. That's what I want to hear about.
Because he was the best head coach available. You talk about a culture guy, Robert Saleh. You talk about a guy who had the best defense in the league at points with the New York Jets. What happened when he left the Jets? Everyone tried to blame him like he was the problem with Aaron Rodgers. And everyone's like, oh, well, Jeff Ulbrich, we've got the right guy. Da, da, da. What happened to that defense? That defense got torched. That defense got cooked. Absolutely barbecue chicken. So he got hung out to dry because of the organization's decision to rock with Aaron Rodgers over him. And I think him getting into a situation where he's going to have a young defense, and it doesn't matter what players he has on defense. He proved it again this year in San Francisco. He's going to find a way to make it work. Without Fred Warner, without Nick Bosa, guys on your back end in and out the entire season, they still put together an excellent defensive performance throughout the year. Now, you take that same philosophy, he's going to get that Tennessee Titans defense rolling. You've got a young quarterback. You can go out and surround him with weapons. Not only was it a great situation, but Robert Saleh is the right guy to help foster it. With Brian Daboll coming in as offensive coordinator, in that 1 year, the first 2 years he had with Daniel Jones, he did two things. He cleaned up the turnovers, and he increased the accuracy of Daniel Jones. If he can do that with Cam Ward, and again, you get a couple weapons around him, oh boy, watch out.
Okay.
Watch out.
I'm gonna change my grade, actually.
A+ is the only way to go about it.
No, you've bumped me up. I was at a C+. I'm going to a B-.
A C+.
I'm going to a B-. Let me tell you why. The only reason he's getting or not even half a grade, I don't know what you would call that, but a bump up from a C+ to a B- is he was the Jets head coach. And when I just talked about bad teams staying bad, that is a bad organization through and through.
And he still made the defense side.
I'm going to give him a slight pass, yeah. Look, he's got a passing grade. I think it was a boring hire. I think we'll see how it works for him.
You're right. And sometimes the right thing to do is the boring thing.
Is do the boring thing, yeah.
100%.
100%. And again, I would rather see I'm jumping up to a B. I changed my mind again. Let me tell you why. Yeah. I'd rather see you go get Robert Saleh than hire Mike LaFleur. Not Matt. Mike. Just throwing that out there. Rather than just going and getting one of these freaking quarterback coaches from the McVay system or whatever. Yeah. Okay, so you convinced me. Here's my last thing that I wanted to wrap up the coaching carousel with is the issue I have with what they're doing these days is they're treating these coaches like they're so just disposable, like you can get rid of them at any given moment and there's no harm, no foul. So I feel like why it was so sloppy this year and why these people are just getting thrown into these jobs is they know they can can them the next year. And especially with this LaFleur hire, like I just said, like we're talking about a guy that at the end of the day, he goes and he works. They look like geniuses. And if he doesn't, they can him and they're back in the same process next year. They don't have Kyler's not their franchise guy. I think we kind of can all agree at this point that relationship is probably done. So switching coaches over and over and over again and doesn't really harm anybody in the system because you don't have your guy yet. Once you have your guy, then it's harder to switch, you know. I mean, you've seen what the Browns have done to all of their quarterbacks and all their coaches and whatever with lack of consistency, but I think where coaching is in the NFL right now is an absolute disaster. This hiring process was bad. I think, again, being able to just get out of hiring a bad coach scot-free by firing them the next year is absurd, and we're not holding anybody accountable. And the days of the Harbaughs, the Tomlins, all of these coaches being around for decades seems to be close to over if we can't steady the ship and figure something out, some penalty, you lose a 4th round pick or something that incentivizes these teams to. I'm not even joking either because like there's compensatory picks that like if the Dolphins, for example, if Anthony Weaver got hired, we would have gotten 2 3rd round picks from it if he would have gotten hired as an OC or as a head coach. while he was still on contract with us. So like, they got to do something.
Yeah, there's a culture of, until the right head coach I want is there, I'm going to hire somebody who's relatively cheap. And like you said, I can hang him out to dry if it's not working, and say there's a little bit of success, I can keep him. You think about Jarod Mayo, you think about Nat Hackett, you think about, honestly, Gannon just before him. He wasn't necessarily put into a great situation. Who's another good example? They stuck with him for a long time, but Brandon Staley, that was a problem when he was with the Chargers. But they realized that like 9 years too late for some reason, even though
exactly.
like it was kind of the same deal. I'm trying to think of who else recently. Brian Callahan, when they threw in Matt Rule in Carolina. Like, there's just been so many situations where you just hire somebody, it doesn't work.
Raheem Morris.
Urban Meyer, Raheem Morris. But again,
did Urban Meyer even last a whole year? He didn't even
last a year, yeah. But what we're also mentioning is a lot of franchises that are just bad. And they've been bad, and there's a reason that they are, because they take too long to make the decision. So instead of aggressively going out to pursue, Robert Saleh, and he probably had his pick of the litter. Your John Harbaugh, they probably had, every offer on the table and got to pick the one they wanted. But goodness gracious, if they don't make it so much harder on themselves, other than just by not doing the due diligence to get the right guy in the building and setting him up with the success. And also, I think coaches and coordinators are getting smarter. They're not going to go take the job where they can get axed, which is how you end up with Minter and Monken ended up getting jobs at the end of the cycle, and LaFleur getting jobs at the end of the cycle. Because the guys who are great, they're like, I'm not going to go to an organization that's going to can me in a year. Like Mike McCarthy, say whatever you want, he's going to get like 4 years with Pittsburgh. That's just the kind of organization they are. And if he gets into the playoffs 1 year, he's probably going to get 2 more after that. So there's these coaches, and especially I think, and I don't want to bring race into this too much, like African American coaches don't jump into a job, right? Like Weaver doesn't want to jump into a job that's going to end up canning him in a year, right? Jarod Mayo doesn't want to get his name back in the head coaching cycle and get canned in another year. Brian Flores, same situation. And so while I agree, no, I don't even agree. This whole, like, we have to reevaluate the Rooney Rule. No, we don't. I think that there's guys that willingly withheld their names this year as African-American coaches. Like, hey, I'm not going to go be the sacrificial lamb. I'm going to wait until the right job pops up. Well, there's an opportunity where the quarterback situation's solved and I've got guys on the roster and I can actually make something of this team than walking into dumpster fires and trying to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
Fiend.
Yeah.
That might have been my rant. Honestly, that was my rant.
That was fantastic. Listen, I think we both got it off our chests too. It needed to be said. It's been abysmal watching this. I can't even get into it. I will say one thing about Mike McDaniel while I can. If only it was more acceptable for teams to turn a head coach into their own offensive coordinator. I understand it gets very blurry with now the locker room no longer knows who's the guy to go to. It's very demoralizing to him. He's now not the head coach. He's not the guy everyone goes to. He's not the one setting the standards of the team, everything. So I get it. I understand why. But I think he was always meant to be a good coordinator. The issue I have is I think he needs to be a coordinator for an offensive head coach. And I think it's because he does not have the discipline to call plays. He is a great play creator. I've always said this, but he is a terrible play caller. He doesn't make adjustments. He's easy to read. We're running screen passes. The yards are forward. We've talked about this time and time again. You have to go forward to get yards. That's the only way. There's so much side to side that I just can't stand watching. I can't stand watching. And again, I think there's a lot of personnel problems, but
absolutely.
If you 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 6, these are manageable downs where go to the sticks and make something happen. Get the ball to your guys.
Screen pass.
Exactly.
Screen
over
pass.
And over again. Even just halfback option, like there's so many different things we're running that I'm like, this was never the play. And not that HN in the open field isn't a bad idea, but like HN 2 yards downfield, or are we throwing it to the sticks? Like there's a lot of things where I feel like he can succeed. Um, I feel like I'm glad we've had a few months to sit on this before we started this podcast because I feel like I'm at the phase in the breakup now where you want to go see him do well, and it doesn't hurt as much. But man, I wanted it to work when we first hired him. It didn't work. He proved that it wasn't going to work, and I wish we would have hired someone that was more capable and more qualified, and he was our OC hire, and maybe things would have been different. But man, every person that interviewed him for a head coach job this year, and every person in the media who are talking about him like he's a great name on the market, clearly did not watch enough Dolphin games because I was sick every time they brought this dude's name up. If he would have went to Cleveland, it would have been a dumpster fire. It would have been the end of him. It would have been the end of the Browns for another 2 years, which it's already the end of the Browns. But
You're telling me, hold on, you're telling me McDaniels and Deshaun Watson wouldn't have been a great match?
stop. No, absolutely not. I think he's in a great spot in LA. I think he's gonna seeing what he'll do with Tua 2.0. I mean, Justin Herbert will be great
You
to
mean
see
Lord
if that
Commander
guy can
Justin
even
Herbert?
play football. I think it'll be very interesting. I think they're going to need to make a few adjustments in terms of who they bring in free agency and maybe in the draft. But yeah, good luck to him. That's my rant.
Yeah. Good luck to all the coaches in reality, because we want to see everybody do well. We don't like a coaching cycle where how many head coaches was there 8 or 10?
10.
10. Yeah,
10.
we don't want to see a third of the league turning over every year. We
No.
we like to see teams winning games, being competitive, because that's how you end up with the Patriots in the Super Bowl. Oops, I said it.
Yep, 100%. I mean, literally, you nailed it. Well, this was a good pod. Let's wrap it up, I think.
A good pod, sir. This was a great pod. I'll say
Yeah,
that
I
right
mean,
now.
I think I'm excited to see, how this works out from here. I think that was some great insight. That was some good stuff, and maybe we won't focus so much on the NFL, as the year goes on. But God, there was just too much going on this week. Even though there's only 2 teams left in it, the free agency stuff that's going to be coming up in the next coming months, the draft coming up, I think it's going to be hard to not talk about it. But,
Yeah. Hey, listen, the
any
NFL's done a
closing
great
words from you?
Yeah, the NFL's done a great job with their cycle. They've figured out how to make it about the NFL all year round. But like Jared said, we're going to talk. And if you've made it this far, thanks for sticking around. We appreciate it. If you have any feedback, anything you suggest, keep it to yourselves. I don't want to see it in the comments. We don't want to see it in the comments. Just sit down and enjoy it. But in reality, we will talk more than football. It's pertinent right now. We've got the Super Bowl coming up. There'll be some NBA talk, trade deadline. We'll talk a little bit of golf, a little bit of baseball. We'll really cover it all. I really think anything other than hockey. Jared's got the ability with the sticks and shell. Maybe we won't get to it. Maybe we will. But thank you so much. If you've made it this far and you're tuning in, we will be back next week. We'll see everybody later.
Peace.